Do you suffer from an overextended to-do list? From a to-do list that only grows as you knock things off and doesn't actually get shorter? I know that when I just focus on the things that I'm doing and things that I have to do, that's what it's like. It's never ending. It never shortens. It never feels like I'm doing the things that matter. Well, today we're talking about pulling things off your to-do list in order to not even downsize, but right size and get clear on what's important to you. Let's do this. Hey, and welcome to the Full Weight of Joy podcast, the podcast for women who are done stressing about the weight of the world, of expectations and settling for status quo, and ready to step into the full weight of joy. Joy in the journey, whether up or down, joy through the life's challenges, and joy in loving your life right where you are, even though sometimes we feel like chucking it all and moving to Bali. It's for women who are ready to step into who God called them to be. He chose you to be in this world. He created you for a specific purpose. God called us to be the light on a hill, and by embracing who you are and whose you are, you can stand on that hill and shine. The best part, when you're standing next to another woman who's also on the journey, the world gets brighter. My name is Tami. I'm your host and a master certified life coach and a trained therapist. For over a decade, I've been helping women do just that. Step into who they're called to be and shine. Are you ready, friend, to start your journey? Let's do this. Back to the podcast. I have got a great episode for you today, and it's talking about taking things off our to-do list. One of the common questions, one of the common concerns, one of the common oppositions to coaching a lot of times is I get, Tami, I don't have the time or the energy to do anything else. And I say, great. Because the first thing we do is we clear things off your list. Just because you can do things doesn't mean you should be doing them. And so I just wanted to talk about today, let's talk about a few things that, let's start with talking about benefits of removing things off your to-do list. Because so many times we think that we're doing the right thing. We're making an impact when we do more things, when we serve on a greater level. Even a lot of times at church or in places of the PTA or, schools, sports, all kinds of things. If there is a position or if there's a need, us as moms, especially moms who are ambitious and highly, maybe highly wired, or we have this need of someone needs to take care of it. Let it be me. So I just want to talk to you today about 5 benefits. Let's talk about five benefits for if you want to live a purpose-aligned life and if you want to have a purpose-aligned business. 5 reasons why we need to get our to-do list in order and we need to actually remove things. One is enhanced focus on priorities. So there's so many things we do that actually don't make an impact. It's busy work, or it's things that if we pause for a moment and really look at it, it doesn't get us closer to the end goal that we want. It doesn't get us closer to the impact that we even want to make. And by eliminating less critical tasks, by eliminating things that are not our priorities, it allows us to use our time and our energy and our resources more effectively. It allows us time to discover what our vision is. And so that's the first one, is if we remove things off of our to-do list, it enhances our focus on priorities. Number 2, one of my favorites, reduce stress and overwhelm. There's so many things, I could do a whole podcast on when removing things from our to-do list, how it will reduce stress and overwhelm. And sometimes even batching our to-do list, because when we task switch, when we switch hats, if you put on one hat, okay, I'm going to clean the house. And then the other hat is, I'm going to pay bills, and switch the hat again as I need to cook. These are all task switching in the business world. Oh, let me check emails, one hat, and then switch to, let me create content, another hat, let me journal, another hat. Every time we switch hats, it causes 30 minutes of downtime. The task, I think we lose 14 minutes every time we task switch. And I need to do a podcast about that, because this is one area that I I task switch in order to avoid things. Like I notice that when I'm task switching, it's because I am not as focused and there's too many things on my to-do list. But when we remove things and we declutter our to-do list, we remove the stress and the overwhelm. And it's partly because we understand our priorities. We understand our vision. So it goes to number 1. Number 3, improved quality of the work we do. We're called to do good work. We're called to work, period. Like we're called to do things. I love today. I was like, oh man, what was it? It'll come to me. It will come to me, but it was talking about, anyway, sorry, I left you hanging there, and it's one of those, oh, you know how it is. Something, and it just comes and goes. It leaves the mind as fast as it comes. Again, this is an evidence of needing to stay focused. Here I was going to task switch and go on a tangent. It will come back to me because it was good and I will talk about it. But improve quality of work. We are meant to do the work. We are meant to stay active and participate. And we're meant to step into the calling that God has laid for us, that Jesus has started, and we get to do the work. We get to do the good work. When our to-do lists are so cluttered with things that don't really matter, the quality of the work that we do diminishes. The quality and the achievements and the meaningfulness, the impact, it is not aligned with our purpose. It is not aligned with our values. It's not aligned with our priorities, and it's not aligned with what God has for us. And so when we start to remove those, then there's benefits to it because the work that we do, the quality of it is improved. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. And then this was one of them that's my absolute favorite. And this is one of the reasons why I have chunks of time on my calendar. And yes, I have kids that I homeschool. I serve at church. I have a lot of hats that I wear. And yet I do have some chunks of time. There are seasons that I don't have as many in a week blocked that I would like. But when you remove things from your to-do list, you have increased creativity and innovation. Our brain has time to get creative. We have time to be bored. My kids, oh man, if I'm not entertaining them or something's not entertaining them within 30 seconds, they're bored. And I was like, you know what? I am never bored. I would dream of being bored because when I'm sit in the quiet, that's when I feel the creativity. That's when I feel more connected to the things that matter. So when you're not bogged down by the extensive list of things to do, you have more mental space for creative thinking and innovation, for thinking of ways and solutions to your own problems, creating new ideas, and looking at how your life aligns with your priorities, your values, and your purpose. When you're so busy going from one task to the next task to the next task, and you from sunup to sundown, and from the time you wake up in the morning to the time you fall to your bed exhausted, if you don't have a moment to just sit and breathe, you're not going to be creative. You're not going to be innovative. You're not going to have these ideas that can help drive you closer and closer to your purpose, or having this purpose aligned life that you want. It's not all about business, but I guarantee that having the creativity available to you, this mental space, and this is why I block it out, where I have, sometimes I call it focus time, and I'll have specific tasks, but sometimes I just have a block that I have colored, like a grayish color, that I don't add anything to it, and I just sit and I breathe, or I go outside if it's not 130 degrees outside, but it's the creativity time. When I'm in the shower, because I can't do anything but, the task at hand, I get ideas. And so as I, think of them, I'll have Siri, take note. But it's also when I give myself time to just be, those ideas come. One of the things several people in the last couple of weeks have asked me about my schedule, how things work in my coaching world. And some of the things that I do, I have done intentionally. I have over a couple of years, I have developed this schedule. And one of the things that shocked them is the fourth week of every month, I don't schedule clients. That is time. That's my lifetime. I know that I go get my hair done the fourth week of the months. Not every fourth week, but you know what I mean. That's when I can schedule doctor's appointments. I can schedule kids' appointments. I know that I can meet with my friends, my girlfriends for lunch. I know that I have time to work on back end. That's when I can, or make sure that if I haven't stuck with my finance plan for each week, which sometimes I'm guilty of just saying, I'll do it next week. Well, in that fourth week, I get myself caught up because I don't want to go into the next month without wrapping up the first one. And so I see clients 2 to 3 times a month, depending on what their needs are. And sometimes I will have to, I am taking my kids to camp the second week of July. And so there's a few days in there that I'm actually going to send them to camp, and I'm going to sit in Colorado and just visit friends. Well, because I have the fourth week where I don't really have many appointments, I can plug them in there. I can reschedule. So I have that flexibility to be able to reschedule. And so in order to have this balance that I want, this purpose aligned business and life, and it gives me that time to be more creative that fourth week. That's when I do some writing. I have blocks on my time, on my schedule for writing. And that's one thing that I want to do more of, because one of my goals is to write a solo book. I do have a collaborative book, which was one of my goals from last year, to have a book published this year. And it is going to be, I believe it's on October 2nd. My book will be published along with other authors and you'll find out more about that. I will share about that as it gets closer. But if I didn't remove things from my to-do list, then I wouldn't have time to actually look at my goals and say, okay, what am I doing to push those forward? And the fifth one, which I've already talked about a little bit, is a greater work-life balance. When I took control of my schedule, and I scheduled it to make sure that I have the time to do what is important to me, that they reflect my values, that I know that Tuesdays are school days, and the fourth week of the month. And if it happens to have a fifth week, I've got plans for what I'm going to do with those starting hopefully in a couple of months. But for right now, it's kind of those are creative weeks. I get to do a workshop, or I get to have bonus sessions with my clients. I will call them up and offer them just an extra, where are you? You got 15 minutes, and let's get you a little bit closer to your goals. Let's do a review. Or if there's things that I need to create, I'm creating a couple of workshops right now, an Enneagram, a basic Enneagram, the things that you need to know about the Enneagram in order to be effective, because you don't need to know all of it. But there are areas that I'm man, if people knew the power of it, the understanding your core tendencies, then a lot of the things that you feel like you have no control over, you will see coming and you can actually plan for. But these 5 things, again, let me just, before we move on to what you can do to help you remove things off your list, let's talk about the benefits, okay? Enhanced focus on priorities, reduce stress and overwhelm, improve quality of work, increased creativity and innovation, and a greater work-life balance. There's always when I say balance, I don't mean even, but for long-term fulfillment, for long-term impact, we cannot put more effort on one than the other. To have a purpose-aligned life, I know that in order to do that, part of it is keeping a purpose-aligned business, and vice versa. That I don't do things if I know that they are not going in. Short term, I may. If I have to push towards the goal and I have to put my head down and just, put my big girl panties on and go for it, then I will. But if it's something that I need to consistently do and it does not follow along with the priorities and the values and the flow that I have created, then I really look at it and see why, or what's what else can I do in order to make it happen? And so now let's talk briefly, let's talk about 3 things you can do right now to help you take, well, take things off your to-do list. The first thing is you have to get clear. No, you get to get clear on your purpose and your goals. If you haven't sat down and really looked at your core values, then I would challenge you to start there. I would challenge you to start looking at what values matter most, and does your calendar reflect that? And then we need to prioritize based on your core values. And I say core values because a lot of times when our purpose, it's so difficult to grab onto a purpose and hold tight. Like I have noticed that even when identifying it, and that's one of the things that I help women and men do. And this is mainly women, but I have a couple of male clients now, which is pretty darn cool. But we talk about, what is your God-given purpose? Your values point to it. Everything, that God does, he creates a quilt. He orchestrates it all together. There's not one thing if your values don't align with your purpose, there's something wrong. So when we are looking at your tasks, which ones don't align with your core values, the purpose that you think is in front of you, or the goals that you feel are important? Look at it and see and ask yourself for each one, does this help me make the impact that I want? And that leads to number 2 is evaluating the impact versus the effort. I forget what the term is. There's a saying, there's a formula, and I don't remember who said it, but it was that 80% of your impact will be made with 20% of the things you're doing. We need to focus on the 20% that makes the 80% impact, not the 80% that makes the 20% impact. So we really need to look, okay, how much effort, create a list, grab a piece of paper, put a line down the middle and put impact and effort and assign each one. Is it high impact, low effort? Is it low impact, high effort? Because when we look at what's important to us and important to our goals and our priorities and our purpose, God talks about how his burden is light. If we are putting a lot of effort and there is little impact in it, then it may be one of those tasks that we're not the right ones for it. We're not the right fit. And by focusing on the effort and impact, the amount it's appropriate, you know what I'm saying? The amount of effort that I put in, the amount of impact far exceeds it. Then you know that that's kind of your sweet spot. So create a list and prioritize and say, okay, maybe a 1 to 5 or high, medium, low, for impact and effort. Is it high impact, low effort? Is it medium on medium? But go ahead and ask yourself for each task you're doing, what is the impact value and what is the effort value? And then you can decide from there, because you have data, you have the concrete evidence right in front of you of what's important. So that's something also, and you can see, because if it's high effort, low impact, remove that sucker from your list. Remove it. There is someone else that is better suited for that, who can do it better than you anyway and enjoys it more than you do. And so the next one is this one I try to do often. Conduct a time audit. Track and look at how you spend your time. It's been said that your priorities and your values are reflected on your calendar. Are they? When you look at your calendar, are your priorities and values reflected? If not, you get to change it. So just use a simple time tracking tool and ask yourself, maybe for 3 days, maybe just a day audit, maybe a full week. I try to do a full week because my days, each day I focus on something different. And again, the first 3 weeks are heavy with clients. And then the 4th week is my back end. It's my creative time. It's my doing my paperwork. It's my life time, trying to catch up on, appointments and things. And so my weeks look different. So I typically do it with a week at a time, but I track my patterns. I try to identify areas like, what am I spending too much time on low value tasks, on high effort but low impact tasks? Where am I not prioritizing based on my goals and maybe based on what's easy or what like I could do for other people instead of focusing on the impact that I'm called to make? And so when we start to look at these three things, like track how you use your time. Nothing will give you more clarity on some holes and some things missing and where you can cut back than when you start to look at the things that matter to you, the impact that you want to make, the impact, the effort that you are putting in, and then how you're using your time. Because you want your time to be used meaningfully. And that doesn't mean you can't have downtime. You need downtime. Again, we talked about it, creativity. And we talked about that when we talked about the 5 things above of why it's important to remove things from our to-do list. But when it's something that's not meaningful to you, those are prime candidates for elimination. Or delegation. Sometimes you have to ask yourself, okay, does it need to be done? Yes. Does it need to be done by me? No. I have delegated dishes to my children because that's something that needs to be done and it does not need to be done by me. Now there's cooking. Yeah, I enjoy cooking. That's one of the things that I do. I do make them. I delegate some days to them. But overall, that's something that I want to do to serve my family because I do enjoy when I have the time, when I have gone grocery shopping, when I have meal planned and meal prepped and all the things, I enjoy it. So that's what I no, that does need to be done by me, just not every day. So I delegate it on some days, but dishes don't ever need to be done by me. Very rarely. I do dishes sometimes, but overall, my kids know that that's part of their chores. And so they take turns doing them. What can your family take off your plate? What can you do? How can you delegate or what can be eliminated or downside? What can you do less often? So these are some things because I know that we are at our peak busyness. We are at our peak overwhelm and stress. And there's so much evidence in our bodies that we are carrying too much. One of the things, if you want to live a purpose-aligned life, which is a beautiful life, which is a life of mix of just enjoying life and making an impact. It's like stepping into who you're called to be and not overexerting yourself to the point where you're exhausted. We have to look at who we're being. But to look at who we're being, we need to look at what we're doing. Are we giving ourselves space to just be? So I have a couple things coming up for you. One is over in our Facebook group, Divine Destiny, living a purpose-aligned life. We're going to start talking this week as our theme is going to be showing up for yourself. This is different than just, I'm not all for just telling yourself to do it and do it. We need to understand the importance of it. We need to what's the why behind it. And so that's what we talk about. Each day, we're just going to talk about a little snippet of that topic, something to help. And so I just want to serve you and help you show up the best way possible. So join the Facebook group and let's start talking about it. In fact, when this will air the week that we start that. So the theme for this week, showing up for yourself. Then also be on the lookout because at the end of July, I am doing a 5-day challenge on permission to pivot. It's free. It's going to be a lot of fun, but it's going to all build on each other. So you're going to want to plan to be there for the 5 days. I'm going to do it on Zoom because I want to interact. I love Facebook and I love doing Facebook Lives, but I want to talk to you. I want to see your face. I want to answer your questions. And so that's what we're going to do in that challenge. And so you'll have to sign up for it. The page is not ready yet. However, you'll find out information in the Facebook group. But for permission to pivot, so many times we don't give ourselves permission to do something different. And these things that I talked about today, that's an example of it. Permission to take things off your to-do list. So get excited about that. I am really excited about that. And I can't wait to join you in that Zoom room. And you can bring friends. You can bring your colleagues. You can bring anyone who you know has a big impact to make and isn't stepping into her purpose-aligned life or hasn't created her purpose-aligned business yet. And even if you have a business and you're like, Tami, I know it's not purpose aligned. I know I have a purpose in it. And I know it's my key. Like God has given this to me, but I don't quite see how to have a purpose aligned life through it. Also, come to this workshop, this challenge, this 5 days. It's going to be Monday through Friday. I can even look up the times. So that way, let me look at the dates real quick while I'm here. It is going to be on the 22nd through the 26th of July at 10 a.m. Central Time. So put that on your calendar, permission to pivot. And we're going to talk about that each day in Zoom. So you have to sign up for it so you can get the Zoom link because it's going to be, private. Anyway, more coming on that. But join us in Facebook group. You'll get more information about everything that I'm doing in there. But we're going to start talking about how to show up for yourself. Because if you're going to have a purpose-aligned business and a purpose-aligned life, you've got to show up for you. So come join me there. And I cannot wait to see you. If you have not left me a rate and review for this podcast, please consider doing that. That is one way the algorithms know that not only you enjoy it, but people who listen to the same types of podcasts or have the same searches and desires as you, that they will recommend this podcast based on your ratings and reviews. So it's really important and it just helps me out. And it also it warms my heart when I see that I'm making an impact. And so consider doing that. Share this episode with someone who you know could benefit from taking something off their to-do list. And they just needed to see how these 3 steps are something they can do right away. Even if you remove one thing, it is a win. It's a win. If I take one thing off my to-do list, if I can delegate or I can eliminate something, then that's a good day for me. Because I put all kinds of things on my to-do list in order to feel like I'm accomplishing something. When really sitting with my daughter and having a cup of lemonade is really the thing this summer that is more important. She's 14 and she's going through some things and hormones and, not having all the friends for the summer. And so connecting with her, if I don't put that on my calendar, and I know this sounds bad, but if I don't put it on my calendar and give myself that space, then it doesn't happen. And if I don't protect my time to allow it on my calendar and I just let any to-do list, because my to-do list is like, I can do things constantly 24/7 and still my to-do list never ends. And I have a feeling that yours is the same way. But when we look at what's important to us and we remove the things that don't align with that, it feels really good to sit in the things and do the things and be the person who can say, yes, this is important to me. So that's what I want for you. And I would love to know, go into the Facebook group and tell me what you're removing from your to-do list. And ladies, dishes, my kids started doing dishes at 5 years old. And then, so it wasn't until they were 8 or 9 that I could be completely hands off. But now they're teenagers. I just tell them to get it done and they know what it means. Now, they don't do it perfect. They're teenagers. They will forget, oh, you mean the things on the counter, not just things in the sink. But hey, I just say, hey, don't forget those, and they will get them done. I get to take that off my to-do list, and they get a growth opportunity. It's a win-win for us all, even if they don't see it that way. But all right, ladies, with that, choose joy until joy chooses you. And I can't wait to see you in the Facebook group, and I can't wait to see you at the challenge, and I just can't wait to talk with you. So DM me and let's talk about what this purpose-aligned life and purpose-aligned business could really look like for you. All right, with that, I will see you in a couple of days. Bye for now.